Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co., and this is News and Week in Review, where we're going to go through a variety of news pieces, the topic of the week, games I played, and of course all the videos of the past week. Links and timestamps to everything down below. And this will probably be a shorter week because the news pieces we got like nothing, followed by a topic of the week that's more a bunch of movie reviews. We'll get to that soon enough, and then everything else. I imagine this is under the 20-minute range. But who knows? Might depend on how long I talk about those movies. But starting off, we just have a very few news pieces. I'm not even bothering with the tablet, the laptop, all that. We have a handful of things this week. First of all, we have a Moonrakers expansion, and then Moonrollers launching over on Valka. This is coming to you from IV Games, IV Studios. If you missed it, I'll throw a link down below. But they have more content for the Moonrakers universe coming over on Valka. And I don't know how much they've said about what Moonrollers is or isn't or all those things. I believe they asked people to submit their guesses and all those things. But either way, those two things are going to be coming over to Valka, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And I believe they will have a presence at PAX Unplugged as well, where they are showing off these new things for the Moonrakers universe. Speaking of which, I should probably have some sort of PAX Unplugged conversation around the games and whatnot, but they've been doing a terrible job of actually advertising what's going to be there, contrasted with Origins, with Gen Con, with Essen, with any of the major conventions. PAX Unplugged is doing a terrible job of basically giving people a reason to be excited about what's there this year. I'm still excited, but not because of anything they're doing. Secondly, from that, we have Dicemates. Dicemates is a small little kind of a public service announcement or whatnot, but Dicemates is a new platform which is basically giving you an opportunity to buy and sell your used games. So the whole goal is to be a peer-to-peer network where you can list your own games, buy from others. They're still in the early phases, so they have a bunch of things that work really, really well, and then a bunch of features that are still working on and coming and all those things. Offhand, I think it's a good starting point, and we'll see where it iterates and develops. But in case you're looking for a way to sell your used games, this might be something that's worth giving a shot or seeing where to go. The biggest challenge with any one of these things is going to be not the features. The features are important, but the biggest challenge is building up simultaneously the audience of people who are buying and the people who are selling at the same time. The good news is most of you selling games are probably also buying games, but you still need a degree of critical mass for people to actually pay attention. If you get used to going to Dicemates and not finding what you want, you're very quickly going to stop getting used to going to Dicemates. And then we also have Allplay. Allplay has a small sale on their bags. They have board game bags, which to date are my favorite board game bags that I utilize. And there's a bunch of board game bags I've tried over the years. The Allplay one is the one I consistently go back to time and time again. I had two once upon a time. I foolishly gave one away, and now I kind of wish I had two again. But either way, the Allplay, they currently are on sale for Thanksgiving. So that will be available. Keep in mind, by the way, lots of sales of everything coming for Thanksgiving, including board games. Lots of things will be coming your way. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for everything from board games to electronics to maybe just groceries. I think one of the a tweet I saw recently was, stop putting TVs on sale. You want to see me rush out at 5 in the morning, put apples on sale for half off and milk on sale for 10%, 25% off a gallon, and I'll be lining up like everyone else. Something along those lines. It was better phrased than what I did, but something along those lines. That's kind of all we have for news. It's been a very light week, or at least past 7 days. Nothing really that has caught my attention as far as anything really that newsworthy. I usually do a bit of a crawl as well, not just like listening and seeing, but also a crawl through various news sites and checking what's going on, and honestly, nothing that interesting this past week. It's been a boring week, which I guess is good. I mean, it's board games. There's only so much news you can really have at any given point. In any case, that's going to be the news. Short and sweet and to the point. There's a reason I think this video will be under 20 minutes, which brings us to the topic of the week, which are going to be 2 movie reviews. We're going to have a movie review for Across the Spider-Verse, as well as Matrix Revolutions. Was it called Revolutions or whatever the new one was called? But first of all, before we dive into this, I'm going to try to keep these as spoiler-free as possible. But I'm not guaranteeing that I won't reference things that are loosely there or possibly spoiler to the point of like a trailer level of spoiler. So I'm going to try to keep it as generic as possible, not really messing things up for you. But if you are sensitive to even aspects of conversation that might lead or tease basic premises or things like that, or possibly spoil something, and then I recommend just skipping to the next timestamp entirely, just to play it safe. Again, my goal is spoiler free, but I'll be talking around the conversations. Also, before we dive into it, just to give you more time to jump to the next timestamp, also, I might start doing this more often. Maybe not as the topic of the week dedicatedly, but as I watch movies, I might try to go for like short movie reviews. This time I'm going a bit more in depth, but not that in depth, mind you. But I might try to do short movie reviews, spoiler free, as part of my week in review, just because I like talking about things, and we'll see. But we'll see. Either way, let's start off with Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse, I finally got to see this one. Although I say finally, but Matrix Revolutions I'm even further behind. I don't know. Is it Revolutions? I'm not sure if it's Matrix Revolutions. Now, what was the Matrix movie? Matrix Resurrections. That's what it was. Resurrection. I should get the names right before I review these things. But anyways, Across the Spider-Verse. I finally got a chance to watch that one, and it followed up on the first Into the Spider-Verse movie, which, to me, those movies are both visually striking in a way that no comic book style movie has been done to that level of visual strikingness. Like, comic book style art is left, right, and centers all over the place, but that particular comic book style that is more modern comic books, this is the first time, Into the Spider-Verse is the first time I saw that done in such a beautifully graphic way that was... It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. Now, the first Into the Spider-Verse movie, I liked aspects of it, but I didn't love it. In general, anything to do with multiverse or time travel, those are things that I don't always love, because as soon as I see certain inconsistencies in those things, they start messing with my head in ways that are complicated. Not complicated. I just don't love them. I spend too much time focusing on the things that are going wrong instead of why they're amazing and whatnot. But Into the Spider-Verse, I liked without loving, and Across the Spider-Verse, I liked more. I enjoyed it more. There certainly were some twists and turns. There were things that would lend itself to generally being a very good story, but I think the biggest thing for me was ultimately the main storyline. I found myself far more easily, I had a far easier time resonating with the main storyline as far as it's hard to talk about these things without any real spoilers. I think they did a better job with the character development. They did a better job with the character development, both all the various characters, the nuanced characters, the clearly good characters, the not so clearly good characters. They did a better job with the character development to the point that almost everyone in the movie I was empathetic to a degree. Good, bad, middle, all of it. I don't think there's a single character I was like, well, that person is straight up bad. Everyone had a degree of nuance to them, and I like that kind of character building. And it's interesting, because, like, depending if you watch this movie, you might be like, but what about this person? No, every single person, I personally found myself being able to empathize with who they were and how they were, as opposed to a simple sadistic, I want to kill and murder everyone kind of villain. So I like that offhand. I also think the general humor was mixed into the movie even better than the first one. The first one was good. The first one was great. But I thought it was very well done as far as the character building, as far as the interactions between the characters, as far as the visual strikingness of the various areas that they went to, as far as the twists, as far as how, how characters would get out of sticky situations, or things that developed across the course of the movie that just lent itself to twists or whatnot. I enjoyed the touching into different universes. And the whole thing is called Across the Spider-Verse. I enjoyed the way they touched into different Spider-Verses more so than the original. I thought it was much more interesting the way they experimented with different kinds of universes, so to speak. I love seeing Childish Gambino in there. Again, I don't think this is a spoiler, but this is why I'm saying just in case, whatever. Childish Gambino is there briefly, and if you don't know this, Childish Gambino is apparently confirmed, I say apparently, it has been confirmed as the inspiration for Miles Morales in general. In the TV show Community, which is amazing, by the way, in the TV show Community, he had that one scene where he's wearing a Spider-Man t-shirt, and that apparently the creators of Miles Morales have confirmed that was the inspiration for Miles Morales, and then having him have a spot in the movie was excellent. It was a fun testament to those who know that he's actually the source for it all. So overall, I thought it did a very good job. Now, I didn't love it. There are aspects of it that I still don't love. Again, in general, Spider-Verses or multiverses, I always find those have a degree of question marks around how they operate, what are the rules, and some of the rules were unclear. And this is where I'm being more vague because I don't want to dive too into spoilers, but some of the various rules were unclear as far as how things operate. When can you break a rule? When can you push a rule? Some of the alignments of the characters, how they operate, it wasn't always clear to me who is or who isn't a good guy or bad guy by the movie's own standards, which was interesting. I like that to a degree, but also made it hard at a certain point to kind of figure out who you want to even root for. Which again, I don't mind to an extent, but I don't know if I ever felt fully resolved on it either, so that kind of leaves me hanging in the middle there. But overall, I thought it built well off the first movie. I don't think you need to have seen the first movie to be able to appreciate and understand this one. I think it certainly helps. There are certain key storylines that would help if you have that full knowledge, but I don't think it's essential. But overall, for me, Across Spider-Verse, definitely enjoyed it. I was not head over heels in love with it, but I definitely enjoyed it more so than the original, which I was a bit more mixed on. Then there's Matrix Resurrection. Matrix Resurrection was interesting. I started watching that one maybe a year and a half ago, something like that, a while ago, and then I was like, no, I want to rewatch the original Matrixes before I rewatch this, and so I started that journey. And then finally I got around to finally rewatching the Matrix Resurrection, and I thought it did a good job at being a fun movie. And this is where there's a particular critique I want to say that I'll get. We'll see. Maybe I'll do a small real spoiler warning. We'll see. But I thought it did a good job of being a fun movie. They brought back familiar faces to a degree that was, hey, yay, familiar faces. And they didn't bring back enough familiar faces to the point that you're like, okay, you got contracts for who you can get contracts for, and you kind of left the rest behind and came up with story arcs as to why they don't exist. Completely inconsistent story arcs, mind you. So again, the logic of how things worked in Matrix Resurrection, completely fabricated garbage, just out the window. None of it makes any sense. The very concept of programs, of time, of how things move forward in it, they were just making up rules to make things happen. The entire movie was Deus Ex Machina. The entire thing was things happening for the sake of having them have to happen. That said, I'd say that I appreciated a lot of the movie. I think a lot of the movie ended up being its own meta commentary on the nature of remakes and why people go back into these things. And in a weird way, they managed to do a good job of being tongue-in-cheek at what they're doing to a point that didn't make what they're doing better, but it did make the tongue-in-cheek part better, if that makes sense. So by poking fun at themselves, they didn't elevate the art of what they were building here, but they made the poking fun part a lot of fun to engage with, which is really well done in my opinion. I thought they did a good job at kind of merging that. Again, it didn't elevate the rest of the movie. The rest of the movie is a hodgepodge mess of things that are good and nostalgic while also being terrible and bad at the same time. That all makes sense if you watch it. It's good, nostalgic, and terrible and bad. There's certain key moments that kind of just had me rolling my eyes. One particular moment at the end, which I won't get into, again, specifics, that very much had me completely rolling my eyes, like, oh, come on, you're just going for, like, the nostalgic eye-roll moment, and you're not even aligning with any sense of trajectory that the entire arc of the series had. And one thing I have a huge pet peeve with is, and again, I'll be vague as possible, but I don't like it at all when a sequel or follow-up in any way invalidates things that have come before in order to craft the narrative of what comes next. So whenever you sit there and you're like, hey, by the way, we designed this a certain way, but because we have to have this new thing happen, we're going to invalidate any form of something that happened along the way. And again, I'll be vague over here, but there are things like the last Jedi movie, or whatever it is. What's it called? The Last Jedi? I don't even know what it's called. Oh my gosh, we had Star Wars, was it called The Last Jedi? Whatever the final, Episode 9, like, had that same problem where they completely invalidated things that came before it. Or even something as basic as Karate Kid, when you have Karate Kid and he's chasing the girl the whole time, and then you get into Karate Kid 2 and it's like, we broke up because we need a new love interest and we're on the next movie and we didn't know this was going to happen. I don't care when storylines change or fracture, but I want it to feel cohesive. I never want to feel like you literally just made things happen so that you could continue the story. That is always a waste of my time. Not waste of my time. I feel it disrespects the story you just told me. You sit there and you craft a story, and then you're like, by the way, we're going to throw out so many details of that because we need to sell you on the next story. So I didn't love that. That I would say is my biggest pet peeve with the Matrix Resurrections. I liked the movie, though. I had fun watching it. I enjoyed it. It was worse than 1 and arguably better than 2 and 3. Was it better than 2 and 3? It's hard to say. I actually don't mind 2 and 3 as much as many people do. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as 1, but there were some interesting storylines in 2 and 3 that were... No, I think... I'm mixed. I'm mixed on where it is. For sure it was worse than 1. I don't think it's a question. But I am mixed on where it was. It was aiming for a dose of nostalgia, but it also insulted viewers in terms of the story and how they respected the story in order to give you that dose of nostalgia. So, I didn't love that aspect of it, while still enjoying the overall movie. And so that's the Matrix Resurrections. That's my 2 reviews over there. I should rate these. Okay, cool. Across the Spider-Verse, I'll give a solid 4 out of 5. Matrix Resurrection, I'll give a 3.5 out of 5. I still had fun with it. I still enjoyed it, but definitely more critical of it. But I can see myself watching it. No, I could see myself watching again. Yeah, I can see myself watching either again. So yeah, that's gonna be a 3.5 for that one. And that's going to be your movie reviews for the topic of the week. Not really topic of the week, just movie reviews instead, but I might start doing this more often. I watch enough movies, not that many, but like I throw them on in the background, I get caught up. Some of these are more actively, like Matrix Resurrections was more of a background movie, but I found myself distracted enough that I'm like, ooh, I should talk about this. Anyways, with that, let's go ahead and dive into the week in review, starting off with the games I played. As usual, this is a selection of games that I've played this past week, just ones that I thought were more worthy of talking about, and I'm picking 3 midway Euros to talk about, all of which I've reviewed on the channel already. We have Lost Means of Arnak, which I'm continuing to play, continuing to enjoy. I still haven't finished the new cooperative expansion. That should happen at some point, but I need to review that. Oh boy, I need to review that. Anyways, Arnak, I'm continuing to dive into it, continue to enjoy it. It's a game that I have like easily 50 plays under my belt this past year, and it's still just a ton of fun. I do not get tired of it. I find myself constantly falling into the same pitfalls and mistakes of the things I want to do versus the things I should do. but I still have a lot of fun with it. And so if you are looking for a game that will definitely stand the test of time, well, if you like it at all, that is, I think Lost Ruins of Arnak will hold up. I still find new ways of pinching a bit more out of the system in ways that can be tremendously satisfying. There's a lot of depth and continued development to that game engine. So Lost Ruins of Arnak, strong recommendation for that one. We have Apiary. Continuing to dive into Apiary, continuing to play that one from Stonemaier Games. That is one that I loved Expeditions from the first play, but Apiary I was kind of mixed. Like halfway through my first play, I was like, I don't know if I like it, but I don't know if I'm feeling it quite as much. But by the time I reviewed it, I'd given it several plays, and even halfway through the first play, I was just like, my mind was turned by that point, and then I dove into it again, and again, and again, and since reviewing it, I've played it like 4 or 5 times by now, which is like, again, I play a lot of games, but a lot of the games I play are the newer stuff that I have to play because, well, have to is a strong term, but I play for coverage. I'm constantly going through new things, but the fact that I kept returning to Apiary multiple times since reviewing it, that's always a good sign. Like last week we talked about Expeditions, this week Apiary. They are both doing great as far as me turning to games that I've already reviewed and kept and held on to. One of the things I'm very weak to, I'm very, very bad at, and I keep doing it, and I haven't learnt my way past it, although there's context as to why I haven't learned my way past it, but it's the idea that I play a game, I review it, I'm a little mixed on where it stands for me, and I put it on my shelf. Optimistic that I'll play it again. And then 4 months later, you see it in the Games Leaving the Collection video. Now, a big part of the reason that happens is because I am optimistic and I need to see whether I'll be inclined to pull it out. Sure, I liked it enough to hold on to it, but do I like it enough to pull it off the shelf? And sometimes I need to give myself the opportunity to know if I will or won't. But other times, I just forget that, sure, I liked you, but did I like you enough? So sometimes I need to learn to get better, other times there's a reason it's happening. But that's why it's always reassuring when a game enters my collection after reviewing it, and I do pull it out, and I do play it, and I do keep finding myself happy to return to it. And speaking of which, we have Revive. Same note as those. Revive, I've been diving into it recently because of the expansion, but that is another one where I'm just having fun, continuing to find ways to leverage a little bit more out of that engine. And the expansion helps with that a lot. I covered the expansion this past week, but overall, it's just a very rewarding system of card play, of min-maxing just to draw more, of trying to find out how you can get a little bit more done, but the game coming to a close right before you leverage just enough out of it. I still find myself kind of torn of certain aspects of the game I feel like I should be able to puzzle or drop more from, and I haven't been able to do so. But that also might be because I'm still trying to throw myself in too many different directions. But I think Revive is a fantastic Euro game that, again, like Apiary, I've reviewed it, and I continue to play it, and continue to play it, and continue to be happy to pull it out and get a good game session of Revive out. So that's going to be Revive. Revive, Apiary, and Arnak. 3 Euro games that I've been consistently getting a lot of my time, whether or not I need to for the sake of reviewing it. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into the week in review, starting off with this past Saturday, where we had a gameplay for, what happened first? I think we had I can't remember what happened first, but it's either one. We had a gameplay for Wasabi going up on Saturday. That was just myself and Meg diving into Wasabi, an older title from KTBG, or an older title from Z-Man Games that KTBG is bringing back to market. Then we had a preview for Firesiege. Firesiege, Meg did a preview of that one. That one I have had the opportunity to play. I get a lot of people asking me whenever we do previews, well, what did you think of the game? And if I haven't played it, I will tell you. And if I have played it, I'll tell you what I think of the game. But a lot of them I don't play. Meg does the previews. I'd say maybe I play half of the games that are previewed on the channel, because it's just convenient and easy for me to play them when possible. But the rest of them, I'm not involved in them as much, so I don't need to. But in the case of Firesiege, that is one that I did play. I actually hopped onto TTS with the designers way back when, and then continued to play it after. That is one that, I mean, I enjoy it. I need to play it more in order to give a full review, but I can definitely say I enjoyed it. How much, I don't know, but I'd say it's at a minimum it's a 3.5, potential to be a 4, but I need to play it a bit more to see where it settles. Then we have Sunday. Sunday we had a Zombicide preview. This is a DCeased, the Zombicide game. So we had a preview for that one. That one I have definitely played. I've played that one 4 times by now. Really enjoyed it because I played the first... Did I play it 4 times? No, I played it 3 times. I thought... Sometimes I play the first scenario twice because I'm getting into it, but no, I play that one 3 times. Just each scenario 1 time. All 3 gameplays are fully recorded and on the channel. That's actually interesting because of how familiar it is to the Marvel Zombie system. That's not one that I usually got. Usually I try to play games before time. If I'm doing a playthrough on the channel, almost always I've played it first. Almost always, not always. But in that case, didn't feel the need to. So that's going to be a DCeased, a Zombicide game. Meg did a preview of that one. For me, I'll just say it feels like Zombicide. It feels like the best part of Marvel Zombies, which is the hero mode to me, which is what I like most. Does it feel better than that? Not necessarily. Does it feel the same? Yes. Do I want it? Yes. Do I need it? No. But it will cover, it will give you more more Marvel Zombies in the DC universe with some nice quality of life changes, including some difficulty aspects. So there are some minor tweaks, but I have to say I do think they're minor, at least what I've seen. Now, I haven't seen all the expansions that are going to be on the crowdfunding campaign, so I don't know about that. But overall, and people keep asking, is it compatible with Marvel Zombies? From all I can see, yes. The command keeps dodging the answer, and I'd say, like everything that they're dodging, it's almost certainly because of a licensor issue. They have almost certainly been told that they cannot say it's associated with Marvel Zombies in any way, shape, or form. They have almost certainly been told that the reason there's no zombie mode is because that they can't have a zombie mode because of, you know, IP restrictions around the licensor holder. Those things, those kind of restrictions are always in play by when you're dealing with licenses, but I can't see, like, they keep giving the answer of, like, oh, well, the anti-life doesn't really give you agency or chaos, and listen, I'm not going to say that's not wrong, but I have to imagine that it's a licensor thing and not a thematic thing. I think they could work their way around the thematics just fine. Like, how intelligent are zombies to begin with? So, either way, that's as far as Zombicide Preview, DCeased Preview. We also had a Nova Aetas First Impressions going up on Sunday. Overall, I enjoyed the game. I liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. I am excited to dive back into it. I was a little torn on how to cover the first impressions of that, because I had a great time, but, like, one thing I kind of focused on in the video that I covered was that I really enjoyed it, but also I don't know if it particularly stands out in a crowded space. But and some people like accepted that, and I had some people be like, well, doesn't every game, to a certain extent, feel like other games? To a certain extent, yes, but I think there are ways and opportunities for games to stand out and feel different, and those are often why I keep games or not. And in the case of the bigger box dungeon crawlers I've had this past year, and Massive Darkness, Oathsworn, Teneris, Isofarian, in terms of all these big box games, usually I can point to clear reasons why they feel different or special to me. Nova Aetas Renaissance just felt like a polished, well-done experience, but it didn't feel... To me, there wasn't a hook. There was not a hook to it. Now, make no mistake, I plan on continuing to play it. I want to see how characters develop and how things develop across the course of the game. This is not a critique. To say something is well done, but there's not a particular hook on top of it, is not a critique. But it does mean that if you have 17 other dungeon crawlers, I don't know, dungeon crawler campaign games, I'd say, I don't know if I necessarily need to recommend Nova Aetas in that position. Versus if you're just looking at it as, is it a good game? Absolutely, yes. I've had fun with it, and I'm excited to dive back into it. So that's where I was kind of mixed on the whole Nova Aetas Renaissance aspect. As far as rating, I'm not rating it yet because first impressions. Instinctively, I'd say it's at least a 4, though. Instinctively. Like, I had a lot of fun with it, and I want to dive back into it. Instinctively, it's at least a 4. As far as Monday we had 2 back and not to back, going through all the crowdfunding campaigns, of which there were a lot. There's a lot of things still in crowdfunding. Next week, things should ease up a bit, maybe, or maybe it's going to be the last week where things are a bit crazy. But then, things tend to shut down a bit for the Black Friday shopping season, but we'll see how that plays out. That was Monday. Tuesday we had a few videos as usual. We had a preview for Singularity. This is one that I did not have a chance to play. I had a lot of people asking my opinion on it. Did not play this one, unfortunately. Only Meg played it and covered it. So Singularity, we had a preview for that one. Basically a more deterministic card battling system. It looks very interesting. I like the art and I like the idea of the game. Now I just need to actually play it, and I'll do that at some point. We had a Zombicide gameplay, Zombicide DCeased gameplay, going through mission 1. We will have missions 2 and 3 for you. In fact, mission 2 should be later today. And then lastly, we had on Tuesday a Wasabi preview as well. Well, not lastly, because there's another thing after that. We had a Wasabi preview, so this is Meg doing a preview of Wasabi. And then we had a Trailblazers gameplay late at night. Tuesday nights in general, I've been soloing for the channel, for the Discord community and whatnot, for anyone who's on the channel, but ideally a Discord community. I will say, by the way, if you're watching this video, please understand that I believe YouTube will not notify you for the past 3 notifications a day. Meaning, effectively, Tuesday is a day that I already have 3 videos going up, and now I'm throwing a live stream on at the end of it, which means you will not get a notification about that live stream, unfortunately. So if you are interested in the live streams, keep in mind that most Tuesdays, ironically not this Tuesday coming up, but most Tuesdays, I will be doing a live stream late at night at 9 p.m. You're welcome to join, come hang out, spend time with us. We're usually just like chilling and playing a solo game while just talking and all that stuff. But YouTube won't notify you on top of that, which I'm fine with. It's more meant for the people who want to be there in general, which I guess all my content is, but it is a much more of a homey, hangout, having fun kind of vibe. But that was Trailblazers. Played 3 games of Trailblazers, won 1 of them. Had fun with the others. Then on Wednesday we had a General Orders review. This was a review of General Orders World War II from David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin. Loved it. Surprised me a lot. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Was not expecting anything near what it was, but it was just such a satisfying tactical 2-player experience. I had so much fun with that one. Then later on Wednesday we had the weekly, the not so weekly live. It was a solo Q&A for myself, just going over whatever questions you happen to have. And then lastly on Wednesday we had a Revive expansion review. This is for the Revive. the Call from the Abyss, Call of the Abyss, whatever it's called. But it's basically a nice modular expansion to Revive. I gave it a 4 out of 5, although to be very clear, Revive is a 5 out of 5 for me, and this expansion does not make it worse. It does arguably make it better. But as far as how, if I'm rating the expansion on its own merits and not just the base game, I said the expansion was a 4 out of 5. It did some decent things. It was not too complicated. But it didn't change the game in any strongly meaningful, amazingly way. So for example, I'd say that classic 5 out of 5 expansions would be Prelude for Terraforming Mars, Lost Ruins of Arnak, the Lost Expedition, or any of the Lost Ruins of Arnak expansions, the Dune Imperium, specifically Rise of Ix. So the expansions that are 5 out of 5s to me have to, and this is a slight new ratings policy around expansions that is inspired by Cascadia. Cascadia Landmarks, the game was a 5 out of 5, the expansion was like a 3 out of 5 at best, but to me, I was not impressed with the Cascadia expansion. It didn't make the game worse, but it added a little bit of variety and just unnecessary elements that weren't so much for me. Maybe it'd be a 3.5, I don't know. But while rating that, I was like, but I love Cascadia, so is this a 5 out of 5? Meaning until now, I haven't ever rated the expansion lower than the base game unless it made the base game worse, which doesn't happen that often. It does happen. But now I'm trying to review the expansions based on the own merit of what the expansion adds, regardless of the final rating on the base game, which could even be better. Hopefully that makes sense. But anyways, Revive Call of the Abyss, 4 out of 5, but it's on top of a game that's already a 5 out of 5, and it makes it a little bit better. How can something be better than the best? It can't be. It can't be. But 5 out of 5 to me is not a perfect game. It's a range, and there are ranges within the 5. I don't do the 5.1, the 5.0 thing, and the 4.98. I just don't do that. Within the 5s, it's a better 5 than it was before. That brings us to Thursday. Thursday we had a seven games to check out if you like Ticket to Ride. This is a continuation of the series that started with the Catan one. I started with 7 games to check out if you like Catan. Then I did 7 games to check out if you like Ticket to Ride. I think I have another one for 8 games to check out. Was it 8? Maybe it wasn't 8. I don't know. It might have been 8. I might have done 8 games if you like Wingspan, but that'll be coming up in future weeks. For right now, we have 7 games to check out if you like Ticket to Ride. And then we have Friday. Friday we're going to have a few reviews going for. We had a few reviews for you. We have Ticket to Ride Legacy, Ticket to Ride Legends of the West. So that's going to be the legacy system of Ticket to Ride. That was up on Friday. Gave it a 5 out of 5. Absolutely love that experience. I thought it was incredibly well done. With the caveat that a 5 out of 5 on a legacy game is a more complicated 5 out of 5. I highly recommend you watch my final thoughts for where and how that rating develops and how I view a 5 out of 5 on a legacy game, which is just so much more complicated to talk about. Then later on Friday, we had a review for Valka. Valka is an active crafting campaign. I was okay with Valka. It didn't overly impress me. I gave it a 3 out of 5. And then lastly on Friday, we had a review for Marrakesh, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5. That's a Stefan Feld game. Gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Really enjoyed it. Thought it was really well done. I played it like a year plus ago, but I like to give games multiple plays before I review them, and it took a while before I can get like multiple plays in. Like I played it a few times. I think I played it 3 times before reviewing it, maybe 4, I have to double check. But either way, I like to play most games multiple times before I review them, and even though I played it a while ago, it just took some time to feel confident that I was giving more than a first impressions opinion on a heavy, complicated game. But that is Friday, which brings us today. Today we have a few things. We have three bad party games, not 3 bad party games, 3 party games that didn't impress me. I don't know what the title is, but we'll have that. I'm giving away spoilers. Later today, we'll have a video about 3 party games. I didn't tell you at all what I think about them. We'll talk about that later today. Maybe. And then later today as well, we'll have a Zombicide DCeased gameplay. Mission 2, this one is on hard mode. I will not say whether we won or we lost, but I will say watch it and enjoy, and it definitely will, it's a tense game. I'll say that much. It's a tense game. How tense? Who knows? But it's a tense game. Highly recommend you check that one out if you're interested in more gameplay on DCeased, and we'll have one more on Nightmare Mode going up for you next week. And with that, as far as next week, speaking of next week, we have a few things. We'll have a Zombicide DCeased Nightmare Mode gameplay. We'll finally have Divinity Original Sin tutorial content for you. So we're going to be doing a few videos on Divinity Original Sin. We're going to be a tutorial, a Mission 1, and a preview for you. And the tutorial should be going up this week, and we'll see when the others line up. I'm going to be spreading out a little bit so as not to overwhelm you, but we should have around 3 videos on Divinity Original Sin. And then this week, we'll also have a video of top 10 relatively hidden gems. Although I think I changed the title. I think I changed the title to top 10 games that should be in the BG Top 1000. I have to double check the title. It started off as relatively hidden gems, then mid video I kind of changed the title, so something along those lines. The point is, good games that are well respected, but they're not as popular as I think they should be. And then from there, we have the games on the table. As usual, these are games I hope to be diving into this week. We have Epic 7 Arise, which I really want to dive into this one and knock it off my list already. I kind of put it into that. Games always are fascinating. They come in, and then I'm interested in them. Some of them I play right away. Others kind of get relegated to the, once they kind of move out of the interest phase, I kind of have to force myself to dive into it. Epic 7 Arise, I was interested at first, and then very quickly realized it's semi-co-op, and that kind of pushed me off, but I want to knock it off my list and get this one played. We have Lands of Galzir, which I am excited for for this one. This one, to me, actively excited, want to play this one. Hope to dive into this one properly and fully at some point. That's going to be Lands of Galzir. Then we have Delta, which I'd love to play this week. I don't know if I will. This one's going to be the hardest one to actually make sure I get tabled, but I would love to if I can. And then we have Nemesis Retaliation, which I should be having coverage for you at some point soon. Haven't played this one yet, but by the time you watch this video, there's a decent chance that I have. And that's going to be what we have for this week. We have a whole bunch of videos, a bunch of games to table, a whole bunch of, well, everything. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.